We're here with Philipp Schmidt, who's the co-founder of Peer-to-Peer University and an MIT Media Lab Director's Fellow. His track at DML 2014 is on open technologies for learning, putting the learners in charge. So what's exciting about your track, Philipp?
Well, I think what's exciting about the track is what drew me into this working in this space, and that is we have this new technology, the internet, that's not even a generation old, and it potentially connects us to millions of other people we could talk to or collaborate with, and an almost unlimited amount of information and resources. And we haven't really figured out how to make that useful for learning. Right? So the models for learning that we see online are kind of, you take the old classroom and you videotape it and you put it online. It's almost like when the cinema started, right? They put a camera into the theater and they just filmed what was happening on the stage. And that's kind of almost the level of innovation that we're at with respect to online learning. And I feel like the tool is so much more powerful, and especially for learning. And now is the time where people are starting to innovate and experiment and figure out, like, how can you connect to other people that are interested in the same things? How can you work on things together online? How can you discover new things you might be passionate about that you had never even thought about before? And all of that really puts the learner in the center of this, right? So it's not anymore the institution that's delivering something to you or saying this is what you should be interested in or this is what you should be learning, but it's you kind of at the center of this amazing network of people, of content, of videos that you can pull new communities together depending on what you want to do at this particular time. So I think that's exciting. I think for people who are interested in learning, that's exciting that we have this new medium that is still feels very undiscovered, and that we can build new institutions and new tools and new platforms together. And all of us learn in the process.
What do you have to share about what you've learned from P2PU in that regard?
Um, Well, I mean, probably a long list of things, but one thing that really resonates with me is just the feeling of generosity that you find on the web. And you find there are so many people out there who have interesting things to share, who are willing to help you, who are willing to collaborate with you, and connecting with them and building communities around shared interests is an incredibly rewarding experience. And maybe like the micro level of that many of us have experienced is you write a blog post and you kind of put it out there, and then the moment there's that first comment on it, it's amazing, right? It's like the web is, there's someone out there who cares and who responds to me, and all of a sudden I have a conversation, and that's such a powerful experience. But now that's such a small step, and you could imagine that blown up to much more engaging collaborations. But I think that spirit of generosity that people have on the web, that they've always had on the web from the beginning. The other thing that I love is, when we started Peer-to-Peer University, the first 7 courses were things like cyberpunk fiction, strategic thinking and poker. There was a cooking course that had like micro, I don't even know what it's called.
Molecular gastronomy?
Molecular gastronomy. And it was like all of a sudden it's like, you're looking at the set of courses that you can take at university, and it's a pretty manageable bookshelf. And then all of a sudden someone like opens the curtains, and it turns out that that slice of the library is tiny, and there are all these millions of other books, much more interesting topics. And then there are lots of people who are interested in them. So just the broadening of what you could be learning and what you could be interested in, I think is amazing.
Well, what kind of things are you cooking up at the Media Lab?
A bunch of things. So we are actually starting a course next Wednesday, which is a little crazy, called Media Lab X, and we're getting Media Lab students to build new tools and platforms for online learning. And that kind of the tongue-in-cheek tagline is a little bit, what would online learning look like if it was built at the Media Lab? And what we're trying to do is take a culture here at the Media Lab, which is very much rooted in face-to-face physical learning and education, like the studio model, and then move those principles online rather than take the lecture model, the theater model, and move that online. And like, where do you end up with if your starting point is the media lab? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is maybe might be a little tangential to DML 2014, but something that I care about a lot is a lot of the innovation that people like you and I have been working on, and many others, makes a lot of sense for people who already know how to learn, right? So if I already have a relatively high level of education, I can benefit from all these new tools and opportunities. I know how to navigate that world, the web, and be an active learner. But I would argue, and I would love your thoughts on this, but I would argue we haven't really made major inroads with communities who are struggling in the education system. So people who, dropouts in college, who can't find a job because they don't have a degree, or people who don't even get to college, right? They don't have the basic skills, writing, numeracy, literacy, problem solving. They don't really understand why they should go to college, and actually college is maybe not the most important thing, but like they don't really know how to get ahead in their lives and do the things they want to do and get the learning that they need to do that. And so one of the areas that I'm looking at here at the Media Lab is how do you make this, like, bring this high, far end of innovation, really crazy new ideas, bring it back to kind of the other end of the spectrum where people are generally regarded as problem learners and falling out of the systems. And I think I think we need to look more seriously at that, at kind of an equitable community of learners rather than. I mean, I've been focusing very much on people who are, very successful learners, and that's fun and that's easy. And so that's a bit of a shift for me. I'm interested in kind of the people who aren't already participating.
Wonderful. Sounds like it's going to be a great session.